to go ahead and call this meeting to order. It's 10:02 on Thursday, November 8th. We're going to start with the invocation of Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to ask you all to please rise.
O merciful Creator, your hand is open wide to satisfy the needs of every living creature. Make us thankful for your loving providence and grant that we, remembering the account that we must one day give, may be faithful stewards of your good gifts. Amen.
Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and please be seated and roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
I'm out of here at 11:30.
I hope we're all out of here by 11:30.
Yeah, it seems like a short day.
Good for you.
For once, I read it way ahead.
Councilman Starkey,
Here.
Councilman Smith,
Here.
Commissioner Moore, Commissioner Starkey,
Here.
Commissioner Wells,
Here.
Mayor Massive,
Here.
Commissioner Mariano,
Here.
Commissioner Oakley,
Here.
and Mayor Hernandez.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, and we do have a quorum. Thank you. This is a portion of our meeting for public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board this morning? Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of minutes, but we have no approval of minutes. There are two sets of minutes. My understanding is they'll come to us at our next December meeting, correct?
That's right.
Hopefully, maybe. All right. With that, we'll go on to MPO Advisory Committee reports. We'll start first with the Citizens Advisory Committee. Ms. Miller's here. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Chairwoman. Excuse me, Hernandez, and congratulations, Commissioner Wells.
Thank you.
The CAC meeting met on October 31st for our November meeting at the Pasco Economic Development Council Conference Room in Lutz. We began the meeting with public comment and introductions around the table. It was then we learned of the retirement of Mr. Brian Beatty from FDOT. Brian and I worked very well together over the last 2 years, and he will be missed. Thank you. Next, we approved our September 5th minutes, and then John Villanove gave us a recap of your September 13th meeting, including the relevant talking points about the priority list. There was a short action item list this month. After listening to the presentations by Ali Atefi, the CAC recommends the approval of the performance targets item that measures the management of Pasco's transportation system and the scope of services for modeling tasks with Tyndall Oliver and Associates. Our status reports began with a PowerPoint from Alex Henry from FDOT with the Tampa Bay Next presentation, then followed by Pasco County staff Sam Bennett with the Ridge Road Extension Update presentation. Finally, Casey Kersey, or should I say Waldo, as she came dressed in her Halloween costume that day, and Braden Davis showed us how to interface with or interact with Facebook and other websites that work with the public involvement plan. We also learned that the Pasco PIO contact for developmental services is Amy Ilmore. Manny Lejmeri guided us through the congestion management process so that each member could relay their area issues. We heard from PCPT's Chris DeAntis, great news about a county worker program that the CAC brought to the board's attention in September. I'm sure they will want to give you that report themselves today. Other meetings and business include discussion about the Regional Transportation Leadership Workshop number 3 that CAC members Christy Zimmer and myself attended with Commissioner Starkey, the upcoming FAV, which is the Florida Automated Vehicles Convention, November 27th and 28th, and a focus on community event in Orlando, December 13th or 12th and 13th. In our roundtable topics, we discussed the ending of my term as the chair of the CAC. I have served 2 one-year terms and have termed out. As we near the possibility of a merged MPO, our citizens in our county risk losing our voice. I urged each member to contact all of you to ensure that you have representation for your district or municipality. Choose an alternate and encourage attendance so that Pasco can come together and accomplish even more as we grow by leaps and bounds. Members not attending can also call in by phone. Citizen representation is crucial. I will not be giving the CAC report next month, as I will be attending the annual Kona Legislative Appreciation Breakfast. I thank you all for the opportunity to serve these past 2 years, and I look forward to seeing you all at future MPO and T-BARTA meetings and events. On behalf of the CAC, I would like to thank you all for your hard work and dedication to service to our county and to the MPO. Are there any questions?
Questions, comments?
No, but I just want to say, I think you've been a very attentive and conscientious chair, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. That means a lot, Commissioner.
I'd say ditto. Thank you again for your service. You really have stepped up to the plate to make a difference here, so we appreciate all of your service.
Absolutely.
Yep, thanks, Kelly.
I appreciate meeting all of you and working with all of you, too, so thank you again for the opportunity.
Sure, we'll continue to see
Thank you.
All righty, next up is BPAC. We have Dr. Stovall here.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
We haven't met since your last meeting, but we did have some interesting bicycle activities in the county. So I know that some of you were enjoying the Starkey Gap Trail celebration that happened on the 30th. That's a big deal in the bicycle world. You know, it's our connection to the coast, and it's wonderful. So that was a great event. We had another meeting, FDOT had another meeting of the, I'll step back, if that helps, I don't know. Another meeting for the bicycle pedestrian safety plan that they're developing for our county. And at that meeting that was on 23rd, primarily they brought back the things that they had learned from the previous 2 meetings and wanted to get some more input on that, and they're gonna keep working. I think we should get a plan here in the next several months. I can tell you that our bike planner, Ross Kelvin, has continued to work kind of behind the scenes on our bike map, our county bike map that we've been trying to get finished here for a while. One of the things he did that I think is really a good thing, so I'll tell you about it. He went, got some of our BPAC members to drive him some of the roads where he sees on the reports where we knew that there were some safety issues, but he's now seen them himself. And I think that really will help him to not only do the map, but everything else he does. And then the other thing I would just tell you, a good bike event is happening Saturday, the 11th in Dade City. And what I heard is they're going to hope to build 500 bicycles for youngsters, for Toys for Tots to be given away at Christmas. So that'll be a great downtown kind of event, but also good for bicycles. So I think the mayor's riding in a tank for that event.
All righty, thanks.
All right, thank you.
All right, are there questions or comments for Dr. Stovall? Commissioner Starkey?
I just want to let you know, one of your BPAC members, Gunther Flagg, and I met with the city of New Port Richey, one of the councilmen and the mayor and staff about the trail that we hope to put along Trouble Creek.
Yes.
And the greenway that we're hoping to put together. So
Cool.
Maybe y'all can talk about that at your next
At our
meeting.
next meeting, okay,
Yeah.
great, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Other comments or questions, Commissioner Oakley?
I also been meeting with some of the bicyclists in like the St. Joe area
Yes.
and around there because of the safety reasons, and that's why I brought it up one time before. I'd like to see them on trails rather than on
Yes, sir.
roads that are too narrow. And this person told me, I guess the law reads if it's a less than 14 feet on a highway, less than 14 feet, they can only ride 2 abreast rather than 3 and 4 like they're doing.
Right.
And so I'm going to work with the sheriff's department to make sure we get that
Okay.
message across. So
Okay.
they've been causing some issues with some of our citizens out in that
Yeah.
countryside around St. Joe and,
Yes, sir.
and toward Brooksville area. They seem to want to gather up, and when a car needs to come through an intersection, they're blocking them,
Yes,
and that's got to stop.
yeah,
So-
I understand.
But I'm going to be working with them so we
Good.
can make sure they understand how they're to ride, so.
And you may recall, there was a consultant did a safety plan on all
Right.
those roads, so that might be, maybe staff could give you a copy again before you have the meeting to help you.
Right.
Okay.
Commissioner
great.
Starkey
Thank you.
wanted to
Good.
comment. I'm sorry.
You know, we've had a number of meetings in Dade City that you've attended on the issues of cycling in the San Antonio Hills and Dade City Hills, because they're very popular from around the state.
That's right.
And I believe Dade, many people in Dade City look at that as a real economic driver.
Correct.
So I think we should be continuing to look at finding ways to widen some of those roads that are too narrow,
Right.
like they've done in Hernando County. I know I was at a meeting in Gainesville for FAC, and there were some people there from the transportation group that's at the University of Florida. I don't remember what that's called, and they apparently have some money for, and I think it's a federal pass-through, but don't hold me to that, for safety on roads, and they got money to put a wider shoulder on Spring Hill? No.
That'd be 41.
No, it was, I'm not the cyclist that
Some of them
runs
are
out
too
there.
narrow, that's the problem.
Yeah, so in Hernando County, they widened the roads, and when it gets to Pasco County, it just stops.
Correct.
And so
Yeah.
they got a grant to do that, and I hope that we continue to look for ways for
You're talking
economic.
about Spring Lake Road, where
Spring Lake
Blanton
Road.
Road becomes Spring Lake,
Yeah.
and you have shoulders, and then zip, no
that-
shoulders.
And
right.
they got the money for the shoulders, it makes it
Yeah.
safer for the cyclists.
Right.
So, and to Commissioner Starkey's point, I know Dr. Stovall and I have talked about
Right.
it, and I know Lance, as a cyclist himself, and Commissioner, that is so important to a big part of who we are, not only Dade City, but Northeast Pasco, so
Right.
Zephyr Hills, St. Leo, I mean, especially now with the TDC and this whole sports coast
Right.
and all of that, I mean, we are trying to attract those cyclists and those Olympic teams that want to come out and use our rolling hills and those streets. So it would be wise, as keeping safety in mind, to see what alternatives we have, grant monies to help us make that a reality. That is an asset that we have in our community.
And the good news is that the consultants helped develop a priority list of where we could get the most benefit, for spending the dollars in that region, so.
Councilman-
Madam Chair, and just the best way to disseminate information to those bicyclists up there would be to go up there and set up some type of a tent in the parking lot at the ball field of St. Anne,
Right.
like from 6 to 8 on Saturday and Sunday, because there's 100 guys that
And
come
on
in
Wednesday
and out of there.
mornings.
And
Wednesday, Saturday, and
Yep.
Sunday.
So if you
That's
wanted to
3
reach
mornings
them,
they
that's the best place to do it. If you have a meeting at the night, you're not going to get anybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, all good,
Thank you.
hopefully good conversation as we move forward, so thank you. All right, with that, we have 2 action items today. So the first one is the approval of the performance targets, and I believe Ali's doing that.
Good morning. We are talking performance-based planning. This is a new federal mandate for us to look at the different performance management systems and set targets. This is make the transportation planning process more accountable and responsible. So the next slide, these are different management systems. One is safety. It's also called PM1. PM stands for performance management. Then there's pavement and bridge, freight and vehicle travel time reliability, and then transit asset management. These are the highlights of each of the overall system. So we are monitoring or using DOT data to make sure we are progressing toward achieving the targets. We have to monitor the projects in the TIP and the long-range transportation plan to make sure we are programming projects that progressing toward achieving those targets. So the MPOs have the option of adopting our own area targets or use the DOT statewide targets. All of the performance targets and monitoring is done on the National Highway System. In your packet, there is a map that it show you which ones are National Highway System. The main point I just want to let you all know that at this time, if you don't achieve the targets or don't progress toward the targets, there is no funding implication for MPOs. Just a little bit about safety. In your packet, the safety targets you see, you already adopted those back in February. The only new ones you see are for other systems, which we have to adopt today. This is the deadline to adopt them. But in February of 2019, we need to adopt new, or we don't have to. We can keep our targets or adopt a new target for in February 2019. The staff thinking that we want to do what DOT did is they adopted a 0 fatality and 0 serious injury targets. We think even though there is no way you can accomplish that in 1 year, because every year you got to look at it, but we think this is a strong statement that we will make, that it helps to get maybe more funding, maybe redirect where we use our funding maybe to safety, maybe look at our priority list a little bit closer for safety projects. So it's more of a statement than actually achieving the target. So in February, we like to bring in the target as 0. And I'm hoping to maybe have some discussion today if you all like it, because if absolutely no, then we can think about doing something else.
Well,
Comments, Commissioner Stark?
I thought it was really odd that we have a target of 71 fatalities. I'm not comfortable with having that kind of target. So I don't even know how we got that number. But I think we should have a 0 target.
Agreed.
Well, the 71 was based on a rolling average of 2012 to 2016 number, and we assume we're gonna keep it the same when 2013 to 2017 data comes out. But I agree with you. I mean, that's why I think it's not good that we say we want to have 71 people get killed. I mean,
0.
Yeah.
71 is not.
yeah.
And, maybe, but again, maybe that's not reality, but, maybe we say every year we cut it in half to achieve within 3 years 0. Maybe,
Maybe your target should always
yeah.
be 0.
And
Yeah, I
every
agree.
year we will see the data and see how we are progressing toward it. But I like 0 because it makes a strong statement that we care about safety. That to me is better. Now, whatever you all want, we can do it. But I think it's a stronger statement.
I agree with that. I just don't think we'll get there, but we've got to try. But if we can say if we cut it in half, we will, every year to get to 0, we will have done great things.
Right, but I agree with
Yeah.
what both of you said, is that
Okay.
if you set a goal, and then if we have to tweak along the way, but
Yeah.
71 is too high, and that knowing that really, the whole idea is safety. We just had that conversation with Commissioner Oakley and Commissioner Starkey on we're trying to reduce
I think
fatalities
0 is where
anywhere.
we need to aim for. I mean,
Yeah.
and then we guide as we go through it, then we watch it hopefully as it comes down.
Yeah.
But
And then give
sensitiveness-
those as we come down, but 0 should always be your target, so.
So February, I think you said, I think that's,
Yeah.
I don't know what the board opinion is, but I would love to have that further discussion at our
Absolutely.
beginning of the year,
That'd be good.
February, if that works, so that we can talk about that. But I think anytime we move towards safety as our vision, that sends a strong message, is what we should be aiming for. Are we in agreement, Commissioner Mariano?
I agree. What's the data as far as what's the biggest cause of the deaths? Is it T-bone accidents, or what's causing most of the problems?
Well, main problem is pedestrian crossings. That's the major, like on US 19, we got pedestrian crossing the road at inappropriate locations. That's the main cause. So
have
you
that
always
map
have the crossing is the issue.
And the issue is the crosswalks are so spread out. It's dangerous to cross at the crosswalk at a light anyway, but in so many sections of West Pasco 19, they're so spread out, so people aren't going to walk a mile up the road to cross the road, unfortunately.
And safety is not just about engineering. You got to have a lot of education and enforcement as well. So it's called EEE process. So we have to spend some time educating people as much as we can.
So what's the 30? Education, enforcement, and
And engineering.
engineer, okay.
Something I've been seeing a lot of, because I've been up and down 19 a lot, is I am seeing, again, I saw it yesterday, groups of people. Yesterday was a man and a woman in their 20s, I think, walking down the concrete medians of 19, not where the grass is, but the little concrete medians. And they cross one half, then they walk down the center of the road. I thought maybe they were going to panhandle, but they were just walking down the middle of the US 19.
So, and also, DOT is helping us to develop a safety action plan, pedestrian and bicycle safety action plan. Ross is involved with it, so we're going to have project strategies as to how to handle safety issues, especially on US 19. US 19 and US 301 are the two big problems for us.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Hochul.
do we have bicycle signage that we can put up where they have crossings, where they cross over a road? Would be a normal trail that they would always cross over? Could we have or do we have bicycle signage out there that we could put, like on 41, where you come up to Trilby Road there at 41 going out on both sides before you get to that Trilby Road area, have a signage coming to it and then one from the other side coming, just to put you on alert, the bicycles cross there?
Yeah, and I've seen flashing lights and
Right.
So when at the major, the problem is that at times, if you have a high-speed road,
Well, that's fairly high speed when you consider bikes crossing, so.
yeah.
You know.
So we can check into it, but
I'd like to check into that and any other crossing area that might be a possibility. We can put a solar system on that sign that works that light that would flash. So it would be taken care of that way rather than trying to hook up power everywhere for those, so. But I think that'd be important.
Talking about again, where's that?
If you go out by the college and go on to Blanton, right as you're coming up to Blanton, there's a road where the Spring Valley Road comes and it meets Trilby on 41. If we look at it, and there's a fire station right there close, but prior to getting to that road, have a sign that where you're traveling to the north, and then the one that's coming from the interstate, one from that direction also, for that crossing. Now, there's probably some other crossings that are very similar to that, maybe not as high speed of traffic, but that one there is pretty high speed traffic.
these are the things that we're talking about to get more involved with safety and allocate more resources to it as part of our priority projects. So we're going
I
to.
think the February discussion, and that takes care of the bikes, but that doesn't address the pedestrians on US 19.
Yeah,
Commissioner
I'm not talking
Councilman.
about pedestrians there,
Yeah,
but when you're talking about pedestrians and bikes here in one area, the bikes are in that other area that we also.
Councilman Starr.
In my opinion, as far as 19 goes, if we get that overpass built at Marine Parkway and the underpass built on the north side of the US 19 bridge, we will most definitely see a reduction in pedestrian fatalities on 19. That stretch right there from North Holiday to North Port Richey, we have a lot of deaths there. And a lot of people that are hit that don't die, that you don't hear about in the paper.
The only problem you have in that type of situation is how many people are going to walk a half mile down the road just to cross
that's
over.
the
Get back to the whole
problem.
crosswalk
And
thing.
that's
not
what you'll
waiting.
get
Can
into,
you-
I'm afraid, so.
Can you send everybody here the crash data for 19 that was at the safety meeting? I got it, but I don't think everybody here got it.
Prior to the discussion
Yeah.
on that, so that would be helpful.
So just through the chair, I was just going to add a couple things related to that. As Ally was mentioning, the safety action plan, what FDOT has done is put together some good data of where the crashes occurred, where the deaths occurred.
Right.
So we'll be able to visualize that. You'll be able to see where that's occurring and where we're going to be concentrating our treatments.
That'll be helpful.
Right now, they're just working on 19, but we'll bring that to you prior to this meeting. And as far as Commissioner Oakley's question, Ross is going to be doing kind of a thorough analysis of our bike paths, and that's another thing we can add to the list of things to document, where there's safe crossings, where there's signage, where there's not, and we can inventory that and provide proper corrections where needed.
I know that FDOT did a lot of work right there north of the city for making that a bicycle lane because of the crashes and everything. And I trust their studies, and I think they know exactly what's happening there, and that's going to help that area. So those things are really good to know and pay attention to. So I'm sure they got other information, other intersections that they pick up that information too.
And I know know we can do a better job, because I think everybody up here travels to lots of other places where bicycles are just the norm and part of their communities with traffic and other things, and they're not seeing the types of things, and it has been education, engineering, and enforcement, all of those things. So I think between the data and a full discussion, I think we need to do a better job, and I think we just have to work better.
I'm just hearing way too much about safety issues with bicycles in my district, and I think we need to start paying more attention to it and make sure everybody's on board to do the right thing.
And
I don't mind them bicycling.
Yeah.
I just want them to be safe.
And I think the biggest thing is allocate resources, because you can talk all you want, but until you allocate resources and do something that people can see and make a difference, you're not going to do anything. You can do all kind of plans, safety plan, strategy, all kind of stuff, but until you actually allocate resources and do it, you don't.
And the other thing,
I'll
Commissioner.
find some.
Yeah, Commissioner Oakley, and I know this board knows with the TDC, the Tourist Development Council, as we go as with this sports coast concept, and especially on the east side,
Yeah.
we're continuing to promote the cycling and the walking and the outdoor stuff. And so, yeah, we want to make sure again that we have safety as we try to promote that in all of our Northeast Pasco
Yeah,
areas,
and
not as the county as a.
This is Commissioner Starkey's main issue is our trails, and I understand, and I think they're very safe, and I'd like to see more bikes on them because of being safe. But I know that's unreal to think they're all going to ride on that trail.
Yeah.
They're going to go out there on the hills and the curves where it's more dangerous, and they put themselves in harm's way. So I think we need to just do some signage and some other things so we can make it safer out there for them. So.
Agreed. Additional comments, Commissioner Mariano?
Yes, thanks. And, man, as you mentioned, other resources are very important. Last summer, I went to the NACO conference, and I met with the National Association of Engineers. They talked about Pasco County being a very specific project they want to work at. And by the way, Secretary Gwynn, great to see you here. Thank you very much. They talked about working with DOT as well as Pasco County and making that like a pilot project for safety. Have you guys done anything with those communications, done anything at all?
I haven't seen any of that.
Okay, would the board like to see them reach out to this National Association of Services?
Mention that.
They did it, we talked about it, and I'm a little disappointed to hear they haven't done it.
Well, Ms.
Maybe,
So do I need to make a motion for you guys to do this, or what should we do?
maybe somebody else at the county has been involved, maybe Debbie Bulldog.
No, we
maybe-
did it here at this meeting, I
don't-
talked about it, about reaching out to them. They want to make a national program, working with the FDOT and the county to try to put a safety program together. I will resend you guys the information. Okay, that'll be a motion?
That's good.
Further
Contact.
discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
And just to respond to that, that's in part what the safety action plan that FDOT is coordinating in Pasco County is in part due to that.
Yeah, maybe that's the one, maybe the safety action, because DOT paid for it, they're spending putting a lot of resources to it, maybe that's the one, I don't know.
Yeah, I
We
think
can-
so. I think the timing here, so I think it's important. I think we all agree, bring something back, allocate the resources, and let's make it happen rather than just keep talking about it, because it sounds like the conversation's happening, we're just not.
Do you need a motion on this?
Let's hope it is already working that way, so.
All right, is there anything else, Ally? Because if not, we'll go ahead
Well,
and see it.
the last slide is just asking you to adopt or approve the targets.
Move to
That-
approve
you
the
have it.
targets?
We have a motion, we have a second for the discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So thank you very much, and we look forward, good discussion on that, so look forward to
February
February. And hopefully get that information to us timely about the crash data, so we have time to all analyze it prior to, that would be great. Ally, I think you're doing the second item on the modeling task with the COA?
Yeah, this is simply actually it's a county work task that dealing with the comprehensive plan and updating the right-of-way preservation table. There's a model. Well, the project was delayed because there were a lot of turnovers at the county staff. So the county doesn't have a GPC, so we are using MPO. That's why you've seen it, because we're using MPO contract to do the work. It's mainly doing modeling and figuring out the ultimate number of lanes we need on the vision plan.
Questions for Ally on this scope of services for the modeling task?
I'm glad we're updating it, it's important.
Madam Chair?
Mariano?
When they do calculate how many lanes we're going to need, when I think about a ridge road that can go not only 241, but eventually go up to 301, when you look at the trips that it takes for someone to go to Land O'Lakes, and they've got to go up, down, over, and down, when you put a road like that in play, all of a sudden, you get a 15-minute drive instead of a 45-minute drive. Do you factor that in when you do that?
Yeah, well, what happens is we use a transportation model. I don't know if you guys recall, we had some presentation how the model works. But basically, you put all the roads that you have in your, in this case, we're going to put all the roads we have in the LRTP, the needs plan LRTP, all the way to year 2040. And then we add more roads that we have in the vision plan that go beyond the LRTP. So, and then we have the employment and population data in the model, and these are the data that assumes the build out of the county. When I say build out, is how much development can go in based on your adopted future land use. So we run the model, and then the model will then go through iteration of generating trips and assigning to those roads. So yes, there will be trips that will use Ridge Road instead of going, say, instead of going through going up and north, it just goes Ridge Road and just connect. And then at the end, the output of the model is the traffic volumes. Then we look at the capacity of roads and see how many lanes do we need based on the model volumes that we get. So I don't know if that answered your question.
Not really, but this is good talk.
I talked a lot about that.
All right, so here's what I want to try to get to. If there's extra information, I'm glad to see Administrator Dan Bowles is here as well. But if there's a way, maybe we need to go look at some extra argument to try to get Ridge Road approved coming up, is we can say, look, if we can actually look at Ridge Road, here's how many miles of traveling it will save as an extra economic viability thing to drive the project forward. And even if we talked about all the way to 301 as well, but that type of modeling, if we're going to look at it, let's try to use it for a tool as we go to the higher ups in DC to try to get this thing approved. Maybe some data in that modeling, if it can be included, could be very helpful.
Yeah, we can check into it. This task wasn't about that, but yes, I mean, modeling you can figure out many things in the model, and that can be one of them. We can check into it. I don't know where we are with the actual permit of the Ridge Road extension, but I believe the permit is for 4-lane all the way to 41. If I'm not mistaken. The alternative is already approved, and county is going through the permitting of the
short
design.
answer, Commissioner Marion, is yes, absolutely. Great suggestion, and we will see if there's anything in that output that we can use to support Ridge Road.
Thank you, John. Commissioner Oakley.
I was just picking up on what you said about Ridge Road going to 301. It's my understanding it goes across 41, goes through Connerton area, and then hits like Aaron Cutoff and comes back into 52 is what I understood. So on the route of Ridge Road on that end.
Right. That conversation was kind of something that's been talked about with staff, but behind the scenes, you might say. But for long term, it could be connecting to Overpass Road. It would take a neighborhood into play.
Oh, it could go that route.
It
Okay.
could go.
I hadn't thought about that route. That sounds good.
Again,
yeah.
that's long term down the road, but
Yeah.
trying to get this first segment done.
Well, that seems more ideal. I can understand that. That's good.
All righty. Anything else on this? So what we've been asked to do is
Move to approve.
We have a motion.
Second.
Second, further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, next item, I think, is, what do we have? Yeah.
The next item is Secretary Gwynn. Thank you.
Right.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, is Kurt.
No, not Secretary Quinn, We always would love to have Secretary Quinn come up, but I think we have something before from PTA, so.
Yeah, this is my normal update for y'all. Kurt Scheibel, PCP Director. Some good news for you. Our growth in Pasco County Public Transportation has been going very, very well. Over the last 2 years, 6% growth on average, about 3%. That equates to, if we continue with the growth, we should have a goal of 1 million riders next year.
Oh,
Just
nice.
doing the math. That's huge. We're seeing a big growth once we, and it's all the support you all have given us the system that has been really helping us do some things and so forth. And the other part that I'm looking at is that the number of complaints are down too. So we're growing, and it looks like we're providing the service the customer wants. As you all know from the current budget, we're looking at the Shady Hills and how we're going to work a route up to that route. That was really good English, wasn't it? We're putting a fixed route in that area and how we're going to make the actual, what roads we're going down and so forth, making sure we hit the Fasano shelter in that whole area in there, and how we can connect with our systems to the north, and making more transportation options available for our customers. So we're really growing. The paratransit system has also grown. We went from about, when I started, it's been about 100, 110 rides per day. We're now up to 175, and being able to, with room for even more growth as we move along. So we're moving along pretty good. Things like the Google Transit, that's up. We're getting compliments on how it's available for our customers. Also the real-time app. There has been still some blurbs here and there, as you can understand, but it is working and people are using it, and we're getting it out to the citizens out there so they know where their bus is, because if you ever ridden the bus, standing on the corner going like, where in the heck is my darn bus? Well, now they can pull up an app and see exactly where it's at. So that's the good news I've got for you today, and I don't have any bad news, so open for questions.
Questions?
Well, just Sheriff Naku and I visited your bus stop in Holiday, the one in front of the Wawa.
Yes.
That is a problem stop. Of course, we found people with drugs sitting there, and a drunk guy, and it's a mess. But that garbage can was full, and I know that one's used a lot by the homeless folks. So do you have that garbage can on a regular?
Yes, ma'am. We, in fact, we just hired, as part of the current budget, we're hiring another person to help keep up with that. I think if the visit was within the last couple of weeks, my guy may have been on vacation.
Okay, yeah.
Who normally does
last
it, and
week.
we have another person that kind of fills in, but that's not his primary job. But now I have two people, so I can have one on vacation, still make sure our bus shelters and areas look professional. That's the word I like to use, is professional.
One of the things I noticed there, and if I had had time, I was going to take my rake down there and do it myself, but in the grass between the sidewalk and the road, it's just full of litter. And so, all kinds of little packages of ketchup and whatever. And so my guess is if it doesn't get picked up, it gets mowed, and all that plastic gets into a million little pieces and gets into our storm system, gets out into the ocean. So do they ever bring rakes, or do they just empty the garbage?
Around the station, he cleans up around the bus stop itself, even the signs one, he'll go there. The thing he has to be careful for is drugs, the needles and things like that. He has his own sharps container, and he has a claw that he uses, but he does rake around that, and he does mow it, weed whacks it, things like, uses a weed whacker basically.
And do we have any, sorry, one more question. Are we continuing to cycle in those green covered shelters?
Yes, ma'am. You mean putting out more out there?
Yeah.
That's my second priority. We have to get the ADA compliance stuff going right now. Once I get that and set up some things with facilities, that's my next big project on my calendar.
And they did rip off the no
Loitering signs?
no loitering sign, so I think we need to find a different way.
I'm waiting for the printing contract to be approved. Once that's approved, we're going to put them back up. And this time they're going to be metal, and they're going to be screwed to the thing where it's going to take some effort. Of course, I can't make, some people are knuckleheads that way, and they like to pull stuff off. Yeah. But I'm making it in such a way that, yes, ma'am, I agree with you. It needs to be as secured as best we can.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Starr.
I know exactly what bus stop you're talking about. I think everyone in West Pasco does.
Yes.
There's a lot of knuckleheads that hang out there.
Yep.
We have problem areas in the city of Newport Richey. Like if we have someone drinking in Sims Park or doing something that's illegal, we send our police department out there and we arrest the person and trespass the person. We have the same homeless, drug addict, vagrant people hanging out at this bus stop. Can we get with the sheriff's department, go out there, if they're found with drugs on them, can we trespass them from that bus stop so if they come back, they get arrested?
When they,
because they're there every day.
Yes, sir. Part of the reason why is I want to have, with the two people, I can now send my guy on certain bus stops every day.
Your guy can't arrest people. Can we get with the sheriff's department?
We did arrest people when we were there.
Part of them, he is going to call.
Okay.
That's his thing, is going to call.
Are we trespassing these people once they're arrested?
We have to have that sign.
We have to have the sign.
Once the sign,
Yeah,
and
yes.
we will trespass them.
Yes.
However, our system is, I've been really spending some time on this. We don't have a magistrate. We had one, and he's got appointed as a judge. And I don't know what the delay was, but we're now back out on the street for a magistrate. So when they get trespassed, that now we have somewhere for them to go to get adjudicated. So, well, we didn't, that stopped for a while, which I just found
And
out.
there's a couple other stops too, some up on Northern 19. I think it's where you saw the people walking down the streets. I was noticing that the other night when I was out
That was
there.
right by Flormar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a couple of them up in the north part of 19 that we're also concerned about. And he's going to keep on those ones. I wrote down a holiday, and I'll get with him, make sure once I believe they offered the guy the position like yesterday, 2 days ago. I don't know how, that's the process on hiring and so forth, but that should help with a lot of the cleanliness issues. And don't hesitate to call me if you have a bus stop that needs immediate attention. If I may not get him out there today, but I can get him out there tomorrow. And so just I'll be glad to get that taken care of, because that's our image on the streets, and we want a good image.
I told him, you're ruining our image.
Additional questions, comments?
Madam Chair?
Dale, I think Mayor was on.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned a million cyclists go
Yeah, we hope to have 1 million customers this next year.
next year.
Yes,
How
sir.
many we have now?
Right now, we're just under 900,000. It's about like 899 and change.
There you go.
Commissioner
sir.
Adams.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
You had mentioned the Fasano shelter,
Yes, sir.
and that's on Hudson Avenue. There's also in there's Premier Healthcare. Down the street, we approved to put change the land use for Withlacoochee to help out with the Vincent House coming up. If we're going to try to get people from, let's say, emergency room up to the shelter where Premier is, we're going to need to do that extension we talked about. And by the way, we talked about Kathy Pearson, I think we talked about this before, about putting up a Hicks Road extension. Now, the Hicks Road extension right now at Hudson Ave is just being completed. Project's coming out good. It's right near the high schools. It goes right by Veterans Park. When you get up to New York Avenue, Hicks Road ends, and you've got to take a due left all the way over, about 1.5 miles, hit Little Road, come back up. You'd have to swing back over. There was a developer that was trying to do something with the property. He would probably give us the right-of-way if we built the road. How do we go about taking that next step to go make that connection from Hicks Road from New York Avenue to Denton, where I can make that loop happen? What do we need to do here at the MPO?
You just hit the biggest problem my planning team is having to make this route extremely viable, is how do I get from, because we want to go up Hicks Road somehow to get on Denton and then over to Shady Hills and back around. I'm not sure how the construction be. That would probably be a question for John and his team, or the planning team, the transportation side. But that would solve our problem right here and make the route a lot more attractive to people too, because it would take away some of the time, because we're looking at how far can we go south on Hicks Road, because I want to connect up to our routes on 52 and then make a connection up with Hernando up there on their purple route up there by the Publix that's on County Line Road. I can't even speak today, sorry. So how I can help, if there's anything I can do to help, I would be glad to help with that. I don't know how to do the road construction stuff like that. I know when construction project comes through, we get asked if there's any transportation issues for it. We usually ask for like a bus pad, like for the Lighthouse of the Blind, we ask for a pad there, and we even have a bus shelter in my yard waiting for them, so when they build the pad, I'll be able to put a shelter right in front of their spot, their building. So I'm not sure how I can help with the actual construction issues, but I know I can help support anything that we do, because we will be putting a bus route on that.
And it literally could save 20 minutes on the road.
Commissioner Stockton.
You're absolutely
Thanks for bringing that up, because you reminded me of something. I had a meeting in the last few weeks with Premier Healthcare, which is on Rowan Road in Southwest Pasco, and where a lot of my need is on US 19. So it's difficult for those homeless people there to get to the free health clinic, and so we ran your bus routes, and for someone to get on the bus in Holiday 19 and get to the health clinic, the shortest time was 2 hours, and it was the route that was late in the afternoon, and it got them there 5 minutes before they closed. So if there was some way that we could work together maybe and have, say, a weekly, one of your little buses, say, meet at Metropolitan Ministries and shuttle people to the clinic on Wednesday mornings or something, that would be really good if we could get something going back and forth. Also, Congressman Bilirakis was able to secure some money to help with the opioid overdose problem, of which is occurring in mostly Holiday and up and down 19, but the money is going to the premier facility in Zephyr Hills. And so they said, well, we need to find a way to get the people from Holiday over to Zephyr Hills. So we need to work on that too.
So we're looking for a holiday to Zephyr Hills is what you're...
I just, I don't know what department in the county that is, if it's you or someone, but,
Wouldn't it be easy to move the money to?
well, I said that, but the problem is Premier, I wasn't involved in how that money was spent, but my understanding is Premier owns a building, so they got money to expand the building they own, and that's why it went to Zephyr Hills. So,
Commissioner, did you have?
I was still going to go on, but I think it's a conversation for the board coming up.
Yeah.
If you make that an agenda, we need that discussion. US 19 is the major problem. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of these deaths are probably right there from that alone, so I think we need to look at changing that legislation. And the way things just went this past Tuesday, I think we got a good shot.
Further updates?
Just, if I could, though, I was going to go a little further. So as far as bus advertising, I know the contract's out now, it's going to be done January or something, okay. I think it's important that we try to advertise in every bus we can. Even if we kind of minimize the ones, such as the one going from along 54 to the Wiregrass Mall. I mean, there's got to be some premier advertising, even if it's not as broad-based on these things. But every single bus out there is going to cut down our costs and provide better service for our people. And it helps our local people advertise as well. So I would like to see us work on all the buses, and I know you have trouble with some of the buses, the Bluebirds, and they break down all the time, and those don't make sense to advertise on, because the people that spend the money advertising, when the buses are running, they get mad, they lose money, and it doesn't work for anybody. But especially these new ones that are running good, we're throwing away money by not advertising.
What's the annual revenue for the advertising? What do you
It's
generate?
about 100 to 120,000 a year. Just to give one thing, there are no more Bluebirds. They're all in my parking lot waiting to be auctioned off and gone. Just to give you guys have been very great in helping me get rid of those problem children. I think we have one left that we're going to keep as a contingency fleet in case we have to do for hurricane evacuation, things like that. That's it. So all the other ones are like gone, so that's a good thing. My concern, though, is that I have approximately 33 buses on the road available, but I can only run 23 on a day. So if I don't run them on a day and they stay out for a long time, just a second. Excuse me. We have to give refunds back to the people, and that was back to our advertiser, and that's what really has hurt us in the past. And that's why when I put the ad out there, I put only 25 buses total, in the same way with the paratransit. We run X number a day at a time peak. I wanted to make sure that we get the buses on the road so that whoever's selling the stuff, selling the ads, they can get their bang for the buck from their customers too. So that was why I limited it to the narrower ones. We've done some, I tried to do some inventive ideas and going across the nation and see what they had out there to help prevent some of these things and make sure that we do get the ads on the road, like you said, because it is a money source for us, and it's a local funding that we can use to match FDOT money that makes it a multiplier. So that's where we're at right now with that. I don't think I could say much more on that other than my reasoning why I only went with 25 buses.
Commissioner Starkey, did you have a?
Well, I had this thought actually this morning when I saw a bus go by advertising something else. I wondered if we're going to advertise on the bus, why aren't we advertising things in the county like SunWest Park? Or why aren't we showcasing our assets on our buses? So that's a thought.
I've been fielding calls and forwarded on to our current advertising person. There are two county entities that have money from the state for advertising exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it
and
seems
I
like
forward
we
them
should
on
be
to our
promoting
current ones
ourselves.
for our current advertiser for that. And other buses, I mean, I have to work through the contractual agreements and follow the contract, because that, I mean, that's what we signed up for. So, and I'll pass all those on when people bring those to me. But I'm bound by the contract on what I can and can't do advertising-wise, county-wise, and so forth. I do offer, though, interior advertising. I have certain spaces that I can give, and I usually give those, anybody in the county who wants something. The health department always asks for the flu shot. I think we did some stuff with the libraries. It's various other things for their summer reading program. That was the one we did. And if they provide it, I stick it inside the bus. And a lot of people still see those things.
That's good.
Commissioner Arroyo.
I think it's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
I mean, because let's face it, when you have this big billboard running up and down, do they need all that advertising space? I don't think they really do. And if we could highlight ourselves, different events up and down, all these things that are out there, I think it's something we should do.
Paddleboarding,
Yeah.
Newport Richey. Yeah.
Now, you're telling me right now, there's a new contract out in the street right now,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
So it's going to go out there and it doesn't have those provisions. Maybe we need to go pull that thing back and let's have a little workshop on the buses in front of it. What's the way to go do this? Because if you had TDC folks there in the room, we're in the room, and kind of even some of the bus advertisers might even comment, but to only advertise in 25 buses when you get 33, you can work provisions to say, look, this bus is going to run here, it's going to run there, it's going to have this on it. I think we probably do a better job in the contract that's probably out there right now.
Well, the only, I'll caution again, though, if I put all 33 buses on there, we run into the same situation that you mentioned with the Bluebirds. I won't be able to guarantee them on the streets on a regular basis. I just can't, because I only do X number of buses at a time. That would be the one caution that I would bring forward.
And I want to dispute that, just because the biggest problem with the Bluebird buses, when they're down for 100 days in a row or 300 days in a row, or there could be a year before the thing is going to get rebuilt. Those are your biggest problems that you came. If you're going to go tell advertisers up front, we're going to have 33 buses out there, only 25 running. Your bus may not run every day. At least if the contract's out in front and they know the bus it's on a dependable bus and they're going to be rotated out, that's something they can plan on and expect. And I think you can get some rational people to say, you know what, it does make sense because you got to maintain these buses too. I think you can work around that.
So it sounds like we need further discussion here, and I think you brought up some good points, Commissioner Mariano. I'd see whether it's a workshop or, and there's a couple of things you mentioned of just seeing what our options are in terms of doing that. But
I mean, Commissioner Starkey's got a brilliant idea. I think we should
I think it's,
capitalize on it.
as a
I think
member
our
of the
citizens
TDC,
would
I think
love
it's,
seeing
they
the
don't
great
know. They don't even
assets of
know.
our
They don't even
community.
know.
And others that are coming through would see,
Yeah.
beautiful photos. I think
It's an awesome idea.
it'd look good.
So whether it's, whatever that, and I do think getting with the TDC is a wonderful opportunity, because that's made up of people all over the county. So I think there's some, I think it was good discussion. I think we can make that happen.
Thank you.
Additional items for us, sir. Additional questions, comments for Chris? Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
All right, Secretary Gwynn. All right, you're going to give us an update on Tampa Bay Next, I think, and a few other things. And thank you for being here this morning. We
Thank you for having me. Yes, I'm going to cover some of the Tampa Bay Next update. Also give you an update on some of the projects in Pasco County that are either currently ongoing or ready to get started, and just give you a little bit of update on that. I would like to just tag on real quick to the safety conversation that was being held a few minutes ago. FDOT adopted the Vision Zero plan. We know it's an aspirational goal. We know that you can't say, oh, one person died and we missed our whole goal. We know, but it's something to work towards. Last year we had in District 7 an average of 10 people a week were killed, either somewhere in the district, 5 counties, over 500 in a year. Over half of those were either pedestrians, bicyclists, or motorcyclists, which we call vulnerable road users. It's hard to gain accurate statistics on distracted driving and what it may play into that, but I do think that when you look at the number of people who are looking at their phone, doing something when they're driving, it's not hard to miss a pedestrian when you're looking at your phone and then you look up and it's right in front of you.
Right.
And so I think, we've talked to our staff about distracted driving. We've told them they need to set the example. They need to not be, engaged in that type of thing while they're on the road. We've also gone and asked all of our staff, and it's come up with some good ideas. A lot of our staff are maintenance staff, construction staff. They're out in the field working every day, and they see a lot more roads than our folks that are in the office, the engineers and others. And so what we've done is encourage them to say, hey, you guys know when you see something that doesn't look right. You see a problem, an intersection where there's a lot of skid marks, or there's some a lot of people running off the road. They may not be getting killed. They may not even have an accident. They may just got towed away later or recovered and got back on the road. But we've been getting a lot of good input from them, and so we've been able to develop some projects that, would address some of that, maybe before it's a crash. But the pedestrian issue is huge. We're doing a lot of countermeasures on that. It is somewhat difficult because we do have a lot of people who just walk wherever they want. They don't go to the things that we provide them to cross. But we're working. So far this year, in the first 10 months of this year, the number was 10% down from the first 10 months last year. And that's 44 people. And so that was a good trend. We don't know exactly why all that may have happened, but we're going to continue to look to find opportunities working with the county. We can get federal money for a lot of these safety projects that can go on local roads and not just on state roads. So we'll continue to work on that. The Tampa Bay Next program is continuing to progress. As you know, we've been doing a lot of public input. We've been talking to a lot of people, and what we hear from people is the one common thing is we need to do something with our regional network. And some of it may be roads, but a lot of it's other things: transit, trails, bicycle and pedestrian facilities. And so what we're doing is working really closely with the cities and counties to try to find opportunities to do things other than the interstate, which is a big portion of Tampa Bay Next as well. Most of you have seen this drawing before. It just shows the Tampa Bay Next Interstate Modernization Program, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that today. But what I also want to talk to you about is some projects that are not necessarily in Pasco County, but may have a big input in the county, because a lot of your residents go into Hillsborough or Pinellas County and back and forth. The Howard Franklin Bridge, we are getting ready to advertise that, and it will be under construction hopefully within the next year and a half. We'll hope to award a contract next year. That project will, although the cost estimate is about $800 million, I think it's actually high. I think we'll be able to get it for lower, but that is it's going to be a big improvement to that area. However, most of you probably also know the West Shore area is a tough area. We have currently a pinch point, what I call it, just north of the Howard Franklin Bridge or east of the Howard Franklin Bridge, where it narrows down to 2 lanes in each direction, and it's tough in the peak hours for people to get through there. What we're going to do is we're going to do an operational improvement. It's actually being competed for right now. We'll award a contract in the next couple of months. But what it'll do is it'll be able to provide a 3rd lane in each direction. So basically a 50% increase in capacity through that area. And we're also, if you've ever come from the airport to come back up here and you go through that loop ramp, and there's a loop ramp that puts you on 275 north, and when you get to that loop ramp and you just try to merge over, there's just not enough room, and it gets really backed up, and then it backs up all the way back over on 60. What we're doing is we're taking that merge area and we're extending it basically all the way up to Del Mabry, which will really help in the merging and the weaving there. So I think that'll really help. It's only going to take about a year to build, and so that'll be coming up pretty soon. We hope that'll relieve a lot of congestion. Also, we're adding an additional lane southbound on the State Road 60 area as it approaches in that area, because we found that was a capacity problem, especially since the veterans and has increased and put their new express lanes out. We're starting to see more traffic, and we needed to handle that. I wanted to talk about the West Shore Interchange reconstruction for a second. We've been having the discussions about, should we merge the MPOs? What should we do? And really, when you look at it, what the main reason I can see for trying to get a regional MPO would be you would be able to have a bigger voice as a region when you went to go for federal or CIS money on projects. Now, I'm not advocating for that. I think you don't necessarily need to do that in order to have that. But what I think we do at certain times is we need to speak with a regional voice. And we've talked about this at the TMA. One of the real problems we're going to have is we've got the Howard Franklin Bridge, which we're updating. Part of the main reason the Howard Franklin Bridge went in the order that it did was that it was becoming what is called structurally deficient. One of the bridges that's about 60-some years old now. And because of that, we did have to put it on a work program to widen it because it can't stay structurally deficient for more than 5 years without being put in a work program. That's going to be improved. We got the veterans that's been approved. Of course, we got Courtney Causeway, everything there, the airport's growing, and everything converges right there in the West Shore area. It's about $1.3 billion to improve that whole interchange to the point where we can make it work. We did have some money in the program a couple of years ago to start on that project, but when the TBX just went south and we agreed to do the supplemental environmental impact statement, that money got taken away from us and it's actually sent to Orlando to help them build their I-4 program. And that's CIS money. CIS money is, where the CIS money goes is really determined by central office. We do go to them and we pitch our projects that we want, but we have to have a compelling need and everybody else, Miami, Jacksonville, Orlando, they're all coming as well. We wanted to try to make this the #1 priority for the region for CIS projects. Pinellas County has agreed to, and the MPO has agreed to write a letter that says we agree that this is the #1 CIS priority in the region. Hillsborough County we talked to, they're putting it on their next meeting to discuss, and hopefully we'll put it in. And we're asking you if you would consider that as the #1 CIS priority for the region. It doesn't mean that other CIS money won't come to projects here or otherwise, but we're saying as a #1 priority, because this will help to tie together if you're coming from Pasco County down the veterans or down the Suncoast to the veterans. It'll help people from Pinellas County, obviously help people that in the Hillsborough area. So I do think that's a big project. So we'll be asking you, we'll send you some information that show you what kind of information we're putting in the letters that we've gotten already. But we will be going to the major cities, the 3 counties, and the 3 MPOs to ask if they would provide support. I think if we then go up to central office and present them something that says, look, the region is behind this project, we would like you to help us find that $1.3 billion to build it, then I think we'll have a better shot than if I just go up there and I'm going against Orlando, which has a regional MPO that brings all that stuff together, in Miami and other places. So just something to think about. It's not a decision that's to be made today, but I will be asking hopefully for support on that.
When do you want the decision?
What I'd like to do is, it would be nice to have it as we go into January timeframe, if possible.
Yes.
Yeah, so do you need, I mean, if
Can
we're in
we give it
agreement
to you
today,
now?
is that something, or do we need to get something more formal from you?
Well, what I can do is I can send you an example of a letter that we've already gotten to show you that I thought was pretty well written. In fact, Stephen helped to write it, to give information in there. It does explain why it's so important.
Yeah.
And, yeah, we'll send that to you. And I appreciate that support, because that'll be big. We're going to we obviously have a new governor. We're going to may have a good new state secretary. And it'll be a chance for us to go in there and say, look here, we're all behind this. We need you to put the money here. So
So if we get that letter, have it on the next agenda, will that work? And then we can agree and vote on it and get it? Is that timely enough,
Yeah.
or do we
Vote
need
on it today and just say
well,
we're okay with you
we were
signing
going to
it.
go that way.
Yeah,
And
Let's
if-
do
I
that.
move to send the letter in support of this project.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There you go.
all right, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
So we'll assume the letter is wonderful.
Are you still going to have that loop to go onto 275 from the Suncoast? You know, you come down, you go under the airport overpass, and then to get on, is it 275 or 375, you have to do that circle?
You know, I'd have to look at it and see exactly how, it's being reconfigured quite a bit.
Loops out there.
And of course, it's gonna have express lanes in there, so you have
Oh, yeah.
different, some of the express lanes don't go the same route as the main road, but I'll be glad to show you, you know, a detailed drawing of it, but I think it's gonna be a great project if we can get it funded. We're right now preparing documents on the SEIS. We'll have public workshops in December, February, or January, February. Then we're going to go next summer to the public hearing. At that point, we can actually get a record of decision, hopefully, from Federal Highway Administration, and then start to look to find the money to build the project. All right, talking about I-275 from I-4 north as we go towards Wesley Chapel. We agreed not to put express lanes in that corridor, primarily due to the impacts it would have had to the surrounding communities and the amount of right-of-way we would have to buy outside the existing right-of-way. But what we are looking to do within the existing right-of-way is to build a project that will add an additional general use lane, general use lane through the whole corridor within the existing right-of-way. We're sure that we can do that, and we can also put a shoulder that's going to be a little wider than a normal shoulder with a full depth of pavement that can be used for buses. If transit during peak periods when you have traffic congestion, the bus can move over or use the shoulder. It's something that's done around the country in a number of places. It seems to work fine, and we'd implement it with here. And so we've got some money already programmed for that, about $70 million, and we're looking for the rest of it, and we hope to get that in the next couple of years. But that, I think, will help a lot in adding capacity, additional 25% capacity on that corridor. The I-75 corridor, although I think that the construction for this is a little further out because we've got other priorities we're trying to take care of, but we are doing a study right now that would provide a record of decision, which would allow us to look for future funding on I-75, basically right now all the way from Bruceby Downs down to Mox and Wallow, but we've also got the chance to take it further north, and we'll be looking at that. But this would provide express lanes all the way from the north of the Bruceby Downs all the way down, tie into I-75, I-4 interchange, so people can come that way. We're looking at that being a north-south corridor as well, instead of currently the I-275 takes a lot of that traffic. All right, I-75 at State Road 56, the Diverging Diamond Interchange. This project is already awarded. We did delay the construction start in order to start it after the shopping season for Christmas, so it'll start pretty soon. I think that would be a nice thing to do. That's a pretty challenging project because we're doing everything within the existing right-of-way. We're retaining the existing bridge. I think it's going to be a great project. I won't say there won't be any pain during the construction because we're going to have a lot of traffic shifts. We're going to have a lot of detours, but we're going to work closely with the businesses out there so they know everything that's going on and they can help provide us with information if they have something they want us to avoid. But although we say it's probably a 3-year project, we're going to push the contractor and see if we can't do everything we can to get it done quicker than that. State Road 52 corridor has a lot going on it, as you probably know. We have the project, we actually have a project that's going to go from the Suncoast to US 41. That'll start probably summertime to fall of this coming year in 2019. We also have several other projects that are wrapping up or well, first, one little piece doesn't have construction, but most of them are wrapping up. The Interstate project's wrapping up. The bigger one is the realignment of 52. I want to say first and foremost, our staff worked with the county staff directly on that, and I got to tell you, it was tough. We were going fast. We had to get the right of way, and everybody was saying, I don't know if we can do this. But I tell you, the county staff and our staff really stepped it up. There were a lot of times where we were like, we have a meeting, we leave, and but at the end of the day, it really did come together. We got a lot of help from the county, and so I just want to say that despite some of the bumps on the road, I was very impressed that we were actually able to get this project so it's going to be let in June, which is the end of our fiscal year. We worried about losing that project.
Yeah.
I can tell you the same thing that you're echoing. We had great partnership with the DOT and doing that with the county staff, and I was there most all the way, and I know we had bumps, and I said, no, press forward, and Dan knows that we were just pushing as hard as we could, and Senator Simpson kept him, we got to get this done, and we didn't want to lose funding, and I mean, there was a lot of pieces had to come together fairly quickly to happen, and it's happening, so it's great, I think. The chance we have to work together closer like that again in the future, I think will even be better, so.
Right. And I know, Commissioner, you helped us out as well. Other folks, it was just, I want to say it was great. Every now and then there was things getting thrown around and people, but in the end of the day, we got it done.
Commissioner Starkey has a comment.
I just want to bring to your attention, and our trails guy isn't here today, but we have a trail that's on the state opportunity map called the Sun Belt, the Orange Belt Trail, that is planned to come up, and you guys moved, you put back in the old railroad underpass north of 52 and 75, so that the trail could go through without having to go through that intersection. And I just want to make sure that everyone's being conscious of how that trail and where it's going to cross 52. And so it's could be Old Pasco Road and 52. It could be Bellamy Brothers and 52, but someone has to have a plan for how that trail is going to get across the street.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
Got that. I'll make sure somebody writes it down so we don't.
Yeah.
Take note.
Got it. All right.
All right, US 301, we also have some projects on that. In 2019, we'll have construction on up in Day City on the bike lane and the resurfacing project there. I think that project's going to make it a much nicer road to ride on for bicyclists as well as for motorists. And so that'll be coming up this or next summer probably. And then we also have a couple projects that have not been funded for construction but are still going on. The design of 301 from County Road 54 up to Cossack Road. It's not funded currently for construction, but it's been mostly designed. And then we're currently working with Zephyr Hills on the one-way pair to make sure we've got exactly what we want to do. And I know we've been working closely together on that. State Road 56 extension. You know, building a road when nobody's riding on it is a lot easier than it is on an existing road. And so, although we're showing this project supposed to end in the summer or fall of this year on original schedule, my understanding is, and I'll take the blame if they don't make it, but I've been told that they're hoping for spring of this year to open that up. And I know there was interest, Commissioner Moore talked about wanting to do an event, maybe a run, a 5K run, and a ribbon cutting ceremony and all that. So we'll coordinate closely and make sure. But I'm anticipating this road will open, unless we have some kind of a strange rainy season in the winter, that it'll open up in the spring. So that's another great project with a lot of cooperation.
and is that a trail on either side of that road? Yes, so I hope that's just an engineer's rendering and that trail meanders a little bit whenever possible and has some shade on it.
Well, I'll check and see. I know engineers like straight lines.
I know, I have to educate them all the time. Engineers like straight lines and cyclists don't.
Right.
And it just needs to just have a little character.
All right. I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Well, it curves.
Yeah.
The road's not
It
straight
should go
across.
around the stormwater ponds on the back side of them, not on the front, you know, and you just get a little interest on it.
No, you said a little character. I
Yeah.
think that makes it all the more interesting for the one to ride.
A couple additional studies that we also are doing. One is a study to look at, we're going to have 56 go up to 301, and then we're going to look at seeing how can we take that out to State Road 39. I guess ultimately give you another connection to I-4 through that way. That study will begin this year, probably last 24 months, perhaps a little less. And then also at US 98 and 301 intersection, where it comes in the vicinity of Clinton Avenue, we're going to look at how we might be able to realign that. So those studies are both coming up, getting ready to start. The Intermodal Center, we're looking at 5 potential sites for intermodal centers in the region, one of them being in Wesley Chapel, included in the area that has that white box around it. And what that is you know, as we look to build our transit system regionally, we're looking for where's a logical place in Wesley Chapel, which is one of the 5 core areas we want to look at putting one. So that's ongoing, and we'll continue to let you know how that goes. With Hillsborough County passing their tax referendum and having 45% of that go to transit. And to put that in perspective, I think that's about $120 million a year is going to go to transit in the county. Hart's budget now is only like 80 million. So this like 1.5 times their whole budget. So you can imagine they're going to be looking at doing a lot of things, and it would be great for us to be able to tie Pasco County into that through an intermodal center, and then you get the. So we're looking at that, and I know your staff is involved with us as well. US 41, State Road 54 intersection. Based on some of the previous meetings, DOT's agreed to do a feasibility study of the 4 scenarios that were provided to us to look at. So we're hopeful to be able to get that done within a year. But we're going to look at those 4 scenarios and bring back to you a recommendation. There is funding in 2024 quite a bit for right-of-way, because originally the footprint was going to be pretty big for right-of-way. So we do have money there. Hopefully we can find what we need, and there may be even some extra money that we can draw in if we don't need as much right-of-way. Mr. Starkey,
Before you get to my favorite.
Okay.
Back to 5441. So we have this plan to elongate the turn lanes and make that little tweak. Is that happening anytime soon?
Do you know what the schedule is on that? I don't know on that.
I mean, I would have thought we would be under construction this year.
I think the project management handling that, I think it's early next year they're going to start
In
construction.
2019?
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I don't think it's a smaller project. I mean, that's why it shouldn't have taken, I just don't have the specifics. Yeah, but it should be pretty soon, I would imagine.
I think that's going to help a lot. It'll
Yeah.
shorten the cycles of lights that people have to sit in, so.
Right, right, and, yeah, it's a tough one. That's a tough intersection to.
Oh, yeah.
So, on the, Commissioner, on Starkey Gap Trail, as you said, trail's under construction. We're going, and I know we're also coordinating with you to try to find a way to build a bridge over, and we'll continue to have discussions on how we can find a way to do that.
Something I wanted to remind your staff, and when I'm sure our staff and your staff will be working together on it, but when they widened 54 on the southern side of the road, it's always been in our vision plan that Starkey was going to continue across and connect to Mitchell Boulevard, but they put the ponds there. So maybe as we're working on this, we can fix that too, because they're going to have to be moved and mitigated, I guess. I know Dewey tried to get them to move it when it was under construction, but the FDOT, it wasn't you, it was 2 secretaries ago, but they didn't want to redo their surveys and slow up the process, so they went ahead and put the swales and stormwater pond in the way, and knowing that it was going to have to be moved one day. So you may want to incorporate that into whatever we do there.
Okay.
Just a thought.
All right,
So,
will do.
thank you.
I-75 at Overpass Road, we are moving forward on that. We're working closely with the county staff, and what we've agreed to do is we'll be involved in the right-of-way acquisition for the properties that are adjacent to 75. The county's going to be taking the lead on the ones that are on Overpass, but not on 75. And so we're working together on that. We also agreed to take over the management of the design-build contract. I think, we do a lot more of those, and so it made sense that we've agreed to do that, as well as provide the construction inspection staff on that. So we'll work real close with county staff on this, and I think this is going to be another really good project, and another good project that shows how good the Pasco County staff and DOT staff can work together on big projects. Yeah.
And as you redo the 56 interchange and build this one, I know that we would like to go ahead and ask for the landscape funding for it to be landscape, because in the past, if we haven't asked, we didn't get it. So I'm
Right.
sure we want it landscape, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Usually goes along with interchanges, so.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we just have to
No, and
maintain.
we by law have to put 1.5% of our construction budget into landscaping. So we look for opportunities. We don't do, doesn't mean we have to do it on every project. It means we have to do it on average. So we look for projects like that that are highly visible to put a lot of the landscaping in. So certainly look at that.
That's good.
The last thing I was going to mention to you is we are continuing our outreach. And you noticed a couple of ones here locally in November. And then in February, we'll be doing the SEIS public workshops. That's the ones that deal mostly with downtown Tampa, where you come through the downtown interchange and the West Shore interchange. But we'll continue to work, and we also are taking a lot of small group meetings. And whenever somebody wants to meet with us, we'll come down there and explain to them all the stuff that we have. So if you know of other groups that would be interested, just let us know. And I'll leave that with questions.
Questions, comments? Commissioner Oakley.
I guess because of 56 coming out, 4-lane hitting 301, that's probably on your radar in the future for 4-lane down to Fowler, I guess.
Yes, in fact, we've got that in our work program now.
Pretty, if you drive it,
Yeah.
if you drive it in the morning, it's busy going south, and it's busy coming back to the north in the evening.
It is, and I went out there one day to look at it because we've had a lot of head-on crashes out there, and especially in the forest where it's dark and there's not really, and so.
Well, I've had people, when it was kind of slowed up a little bit, one time I had people pass me on the right-hand side, which is dangerous. I mean, I don't understand why, but.
I went out there and tried to drive at the speed limit, and I realized, just to see I realized I was causing a safety problem.
Yeah.
You can't drive the speed limit without everybody's going to pass you, and so I started going up and up and up, and I was probably 15 to 20 miles over the speed limit before I even had people not wanting to pass me.
It seems strange, but that even on the interstate, the speed limit's about 10 miles more than it's posted, but I mean, if you're not doing that, you feel like you're in people's way.
Yeah.
And you're doing the speed limit. So, I mean, it's strange, but that's safety issues.
I know we've got the PD&E study done, or we're working on the, going into design, but it's something that we're definitely going to, it's on our radar.
Yep.
Additional questions? I know, Commissioner Mara.
I just want to pass a compliment on Secretary Gwynn. Since you've come on board, your leadership's been phenomenal. The TMA meetings and everything I'm sure you're doing in the whole region's been great. I know anytime I've called the office, whether it be something about a tree overhanging that could be dangerous on State Road 52 or Sea Ranch where we needed to put an end to left turns coming out of there, whatever, reaching out to you, you've always been phenomenal. So I just want to say thank you publicly that I think you're doing a phenomenal job.
I appreciate that.
Anything else? And I just to echo that, I know your staff from the municipality's point of view, Dade City, kudos to them anytime we have issues, and I know we meet with them regularly. It's just been very, very helpful, and we feel like that rapport really is advantageous to us as a city and to, I always say, Northeast Pasco, so things we need to get done. So thank you, you're doing a great job.
Yep, thank you, guys. Okay.
Commissioner Starkey. one last
The Secretary brought up TMA, and I don't think you're going to want to weigh in on this, but I just wanted to share with everybody. We missed Jack and I missed the last meeting, and the third person wasn't there, so we weren't represented except by staff at a very important discussion on kind of tightening up and even, I don't know what the word is. They were having a kind of an organization discussion. Is that the right word?
Structure and process.
Structure.
Yeah, and I know you were there. So the talk is that I think they were trying to determine what the voting, what it would look like, and there was discussion of 5 votes from Hillsborough, 3 from Pinellas, 2 from Pasco. For me, that's not a good system, and I think it should be similar to Tampa Bay Water. But you can go, and if you go onto the PSTA website and go under meetings and go under the TMA workshop, you can pull up and listen to the video from that meeting. But it's, and I was texting in to Manny and others to get our views in as we could. But it's my understanding they're moving that discussion to the next meeting. Yeah. So it's really important that we try and be there. And I heard Commissioner Merman say, well, Pasco's not showing up like everyone else. So it was a really bad morning for us. We had a big event here that we couldn't get down to. So
some different places.
But I just want that to be on everyone's radar, and that you should listen to that tape, and then we need to pay attention at the next meeting. And I appreciate you're always there at the TMA and your staff, so they get good stuff done.
Yeah, Madam Chair?
Yes.
If I could, I actually reached out to them before that meeting took place, I think maybe a week or so before, and was asking the question, why would we schedule a meeting
Yeah,
right before an election? I mean, obviously, when you got a future governor coming into town and whatever, that your connections that you're going to make there for future are very important. I'd like to make sure that our staff, and I'm sure you already have had the discussion, that they do not schedule on election years meetings right before. It should be right after, because even if it's going to be afterward, you want to get someone who's going to be in the elected position, not someone who's going to be stepping out anyway. So, Commissioner Moore, Commissioner Wells, I'll tell you, my daughter, Representative Mariano, there was no way I was going to miss a day of opportunity to try to make that happen. And it just happened to be when the governor came in, future governor, thank goodness, came in, that we were able to be there and show him support as well. So just in the future, it was like, we know it's an important meeting, but at the same time, we got to look at, you got to be in position to be able to help.
Good points. Noted. Okay. And again, thank you for being here and updating us. Great presentation. Appreciate it. I know we got some folks that are, I think at least two are going to leave soon. So Casey, can we go that? And I think you're going to talk to us about a couple things going on.
Good morning, Madam Chair. I am Casey Kersey with AECom, and you see me often when we do our public outreach. John, can we put up the website that is the Mobility Pasco, Manny? So what I want to tell you is you're very close to having a true kickoff for your long-range plan. You've been actually working on it throughout the year with the MetroQuest. But what's been so wonderful about Pasco and how much ahead of the game you are for having Amy Elmore put all this together is she is syncing up all the platforms, because we all live with this, right? So your Pasco staff, they're making sure we follow the traditional rules of a long-range plan, and we're rolling in the new way we all communicate. It's not new, it's just now we've got to make sure it's all synced together. So Amy has already put together for you platforms on social media with Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. The logo for the long-range plan is all there. We're just syncing it right now. So we're working through the county, because when the website got revamped this summer, we're having to make sure everything talks to each other. So if you go into your website and you type in Mobility Pasco, it takes you to the long-range plan. If you type in long-range plan, it takes you to your 2045. We're trying to sync up all of those ways someone might search on their phone. So here's what your website's going to look like. It'll talk about what the plan is, okay? You have a ribbon up to the top, home, project information, so forth, that you'll be able to use on your phone or tablet. And then as you scroll down, you'll see that there is a location for a schedule, and then a location of how can I get involved. We've been holding off on that, how I can get involved with your public involvement strategy, and I'll roll that out for you in December, because everything needs to be synced. If we go out to the public and they can't search for your long-range plan and find it, they're going to get kind of frustrated at you. So we're almost there.
Yeah.
And so I'll continue to give you an update. Your staff is phenomenal. They're doing a great job with outreach, and I'm very, very honored to be a part of it.
Thank you. Questions for Casey? Commissioner Starkey, before you leave and before this meeting in December, we're going to have a conversation about that. I know there's...
what's the date?
We're having it on the Thursday, and I think we're...
Oh, it's here. We're doing it a little later, right?
It's Thursday, but it's Dade City. I know there's a breakfast that morning. I thought we were moving things, and we had talked about moving it, but I saw it here, so I just wanted, while you're here too, I just wanted to...
Commissioner Moore is not here, but because of the Wesley Chapel study, he wanted it to be in Dade City for December meeting. So we're stuck between a rock and a hard place.
I'm going to make a decision on that. I just wanted to see if you...
You want to.
I tend to favor that, too.
I was proposing...
You have a quorum with more, can you get a more Oakley?
I was proposing to Chair, if you want to maybe delay the meeting to maybe 11 o'clock or 12, I mean, it's up to you guys.
But 10's not going to work because it's too close to get you guys all back from that breakfast meeting. So we can either move it to 11. There was, I don't think...
What's the breakfast meeting?
What do you call it?
Kona breakfast.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Yes, it's a big deal.
What's the,
So the options are to move it to 11, Thursday, December 13th. And we talked, it's in Dade City. We talked about moving it to 11 as opposed to 10. That would give you all time to get there in a timely fashion from your breakfast meeting, which I know you all attend. And I think Kelly made reference to it.
What date now?
So I show the planning commission there at 1:30. Are we going to mess them up? In the courthouse at
Oh.
1:30?
I don't have them on there, but they meet in the afternoon after us.
Or it's 10:30, I mean, just whatever, yeah, just
Well, we
something.
won't make it at
Yeah,
10:30.
so 11, so, anyway, just while you're here, because I know you like to.
We have a lot of items on that day.
Probably not.
So 11 would work,
11 might work.
and we know we have to
We
get
can
out of there by 1.
We can go to 12:30 or something, you know?
Do you have to have a quorum even if you just listen to the presentation? Are you voting?
Well,
Because there's no action intended, it was just to
Okay.
bring you up to date because it's becoming, in the limelight of the public, so we wanted you to all be familiar with the study
right,
before
that's
you
what
take
my
action
understanding was.
next year.
Can we live stream these meetings?
We've been asked to do that, so we're looking into that.
Okay, so anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to hold you up, but I knew that was a
To
conversation
change it
coming
to
up.
11 would be good.
I think 11's okay.
11's fine.
11, Dade City on the 13th, so we'll
Yep.
keep it on Thursday. So, all right, and I'm sorry for just jumping to that. So Casey, did anybody have any questions for Casey on her report? I didn't mean to cut you off, I just wanted to make sure I got that, everybody in. So, thank you so much for that, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Other business, let me see, John, you handling that, or who's, other business, meetings held, or do you want to talk about any of that? Casey's done, she's leaving. Do you want to talk about any of those items, or are we?
The only one that we were going to mention, I didn't know if Commissioner Starkey was in attendance at the workshop. So there was no final determination on the potential consolidation. They're putting all of the workshop information together, and they're tentatively scheduled to come to this board in January. The only issue is they've already coordinated with Hillsborough and Pinellas, and the date is the 16th and 18th, so we were tentatively slotted for the 17th.
Of January, what month?
January, but we're going to be doing our calendar next month, which is tentatively scheduled for the 10th, so we're going to have to talk about whether or not they've only been budgeted for one trip down here. So the issue is they're going to give us their feedback, they're going to give us the study recommendations, and then we'll go from there.
All right, so you're going to let us know.
So next month, when we talk about the calendar, I'm going to see if they can come on the 10th, but if not, it might be an ask to change our board meeting from the 10th to the 17th in January.
And maybe Commissioner Starkey can give us, I know I did not attend, they moved the date from the other thing that had
It
happened.
was
so
just
I know.
basically a lot of leading questions about if you submitted for a federal grant, do you think you would have a better opportunity if you were 3 MPOs or 1 MPO? And it was just kind of questions alluding to the strength in numbers. So, but there were 2 other workshops, so they're going to take all of those recommendations and comments and put something together. And so we don't know what it's going to propose or not propose, whether it's just going to be findings or whether they're going to have a recommendation. But until that time, really, we're just waiting to see what the intent of their study comes up.
Yeah, I did have the opportunity to attend 1 and 2, and what I was disappointed is that, our Pasco representation was rather slim, and that is never a good thing. It is what it is, and I know it was down in St. Pete, but so look forward to that and the date that we're going to have that presentation.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
Just to talk about that, somehow that never even made it on my calendar. I don't know about anybody else if it was on your calendar.
It was moved, right? It was originally it got moved to the 29th by way of, I forget what was the conflict there, but it was another one of those moving
Well,
around.
I know one of the first or second ones, there
Was
was a
moved
conflict
because of a death.
Death of a commissioner in Pinellas, but this one had been set probably after those ones, so you wouldn't have known months in advance.
But I'm saying even to the day of the event, it wasn't on my calendar.
Okay,
So
well, we
that's where-
apologize. We sent out a notice, they sent out a notice, but we'll just be a little more aggressive to make sure that you're aware, because this was kind of something that MPO participation helped. But again, it wasn't just so much political as it was trying to get people from the business community and citizens to participate in this study. So a lot of their effort is really looking at just what's been done around the country and what's been done in Florida. And so the reality of this is there's a lot of politics behind it. I don't know how much the study is behind it, but they're just going to bring forward the information as best as they can so that people can make an informed decision moving forward.
Well, again, the problem with that is, and what Commissioner Mariano is saying, is that I walk in the room and see that there's very few, lots of staff, but very few, and there's heavy representation by the other counties, and these studies or these presentations are based on the input that comes from those workshops, and so our voice is not heard as effectively as it would be, and we've talked about moving the location, but that lab works as a great location to do that kind of workshop, so.
I just got to think they could find a better location, or if not a better time, where they can actually make a better location.
Agreed.
Even if they got to go to a high school or something to go do it, but something all the
They
way
can
down to
make
St.
it-
Pete for an hour for us to drive.
Make it more centralized for us. I mean,
Because it is a long ride, a long trip to get there, and it is a full day. And I know, Commissioner, I think you were at the first one or two at least,
Yeah.
too. So, yeah, it's not for lack of wanting to be there, it's just trying to get, especially the citizens just from Pasco over there that have an interest, so. And I know Ms. Miller, who I don't think is here, has been very
Yeah, she
active in those.
attended.
Oh, there she is.
Yeah, we were all there, and also
Yeah.
Commissioner Starkey was
But yeah, the date was, it was a problem. So anyway, all right. And then we have a couple of other things coming up. I know actually we have a board meeting on, did you want to talk about any of those other items before we wrap up?
Well, the other ones are just some events that are coming up. We'd just
Okay.
like to keep you apprised of things that may or may not relate to the MPO. But the
Okay.
main one that we wanted to share with you was this flyer that came out. Every year they do, or as needed, they do an MPOAC specific for elected officials. And so we're just giving you some notice. There's one in Tampa and Orlando, but for those of you maybe that are new to the MPO or maybe haven't gotten into the nuts and bolts of what the MPO is about, these are good trainings that are provided just to keep you abreast of various issues.
I've been, it is great. It is, I think you probably learn more after you've been here a while, go back. But it is a good thing, so thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
Just to talk about that, and I also want to talk about the Automated Vehicle Summit, but on this here, let me ask you a question. Have the rules changed? Oh, good, Secretary Gwynn's here, or even his staff.
Thanks.
Have the rules changed much in like 12 to 14 years that would be beneficial to go again, or pretty much is everything pretty much the same?
always have new stuff.
I would say that it's just like anything else. If you don't go back and revisit your driving, you probably find that most of the things you do are bad habits. So it always helps to go back to driving school. So I think in this case, there's probably a lot of new stuff that would probably, you're pretty abreast of stuff anyways, but for some committee members that don't stay on top of issues, there's probably a lot of new things that would help, not necessarily legislative, but just MPOs are moving, from highways into autonomous vehicles. I mean, we're looking at a lot more technology and things than in the past, so it might be stimulating.
I mean, if it doesn't fill up, I wouldn't mind going again, then in that case. If it does fill up, I don't want to take someone else's
Right,
seat that hasn't gone, et cetera, so if you keep me posted with that. And if I could, we'll just talk about that Automated Vehicle Summit. It happens to be the same time that the legislative conference for FAC is going on. It's actually the day before and then through it, so is there a cost to go to that summit, or what's?
The AFV Summit is a cost, it's upwards of $500, we believe. So that is something that we as staff were looking at. I think Kelly had asked that it be something that would be a good public expenditure if staff went, but certainly for board members, it might be interesting because of the future. The community one of FDOT is a free one that's on 12/13. But yeah, there is a cost for this. We can send you the information. I think it's $495.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
This is a portion of the meeting of public comments. Anybody have any? Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Dale.
This is perfectly on base for me, why we're MPOs created in the first place. And I'm pretty much a neophyte, as you know. We've been all over Tampa and St. Petersburg and Hillsborough and Orlando. Is there a block of different MPOs that get to Port Richey, to New Port Richey's trail?
I don't understand what's the question?
Well, we're planning, or we're hoping for a trail between Port Richey and New Port Richey under the underpass. Where does that come up?
What about it?
He probably just wants a status on
Yeah.
the interlocal.
The status, what can we do to help? Can we move it forward?
So the interlocal agreement for the Cody River project has been shared with Newport Richey and Port Richey. And so we're gathering feedback from the cities now, their comments on their take on the agreement. And then we'll work that out in one-on-one consultations between the county and the two cities.
Okay, so you work that out, and then what happens?
And then each city will have to have their boards approve the agreement. The county will approve the agreement on its part, and then we'll have signing activity take place. We'll execute the agreement.
And then we have a contractor in waiting to do the feasibility study.
Right.
Once
Okay.
that's all approved. And then the
Is there anything I can do to make it happen fast?
Well, we've received the comments from Port Richey, so we're reviewing those comments currently. And we haven't received any comments yet from New Port Richey, but we expect those to be coming fairly quickly. The comments from Port Richey, it seemed, were minor, and we can work with them. So we're just waiting now for comments from New Port Richey. And again, once the agreement has been hammered out, it's only a matter of scheduling to the next available public meetings for each jurisdiction.
Have we got the trail the way we want it yet? Or is that coming a bit?
Yeah, we have.
That'll be part of the study. The
Yeah.
study will determine the most
Right.
effective approach to what needs to be put under the bridge, what's the cost for it.
We have a schematic of what the route will look like, but final details have to be hammered out in the feasibility study itself to determine feasibility.
Madam
Yes, sir,
Madam
Commissioner
Chair?
Arano.
Thank you. Could we ask to, just because this has been a project we looked at like 20-some-odd years ago, Mr. Secretary, just to let you know about this project, it's an underpass project in US 19. It actually connects the two cities under the bridge, which there's a big gap in the bridge where there's a space for it, and we've been working on that. Both cities are real high on the project. They're going to make it, I know Newport Richey is going to make it higher in their priority list. The city's never gone to Tallahassee, but they're going to make it a letter that we can actually bring forward to show their support as well. Just to help us get through the mechanics, maybe DOT could even help. But I would like to see that your next communication through the whole MPO, just kind of let us know where we're at. So if we know the city of Newport Richey is lagging behind, or Port Richey or the county, whatever, we can nudge it along to make sure this thing moves quickly, because it is a very important project.
So I can give a quick update as to, so the agreement was circulated to the cities last week following extensive refinement by county staff. And so it's just gotten out. Port Richey has been prompt in giving back their responses. As soon as we get the responses from Newport Richey, we will revise the draft and share again and make sure everyone's on the same page.
If you'd keep me in the loop with those emails too, I'd appreciate it.
Will do.
If the MPO wants to be on it, that's great too, but I'd like to make sure I keep it moving.
Okay.
All right, we're losing bodies quickly here, so is there, oh, you are good? Okay, public comments, this portion of the meeting, public comments. Anyone in the audience like to address the MPO board? Seeing none, we'll adjourn the meeting at 11:42. Thank you all.